Aston Villa then getting an early goal in that game against Arsenal through their captain John McGinn, who, as I know, you've spoken about many times recently, and what a man, or what a player I should say, and talisman he is proving to be for Aston Villa. But what did you make of Villa's performance yesterday in that victory?
Well, I thought both teams by the end looked really tired. I mean, I don't just mean because it's the end of the game. I meant it was a tough week. You know, they had Aston Villa had obviously beaten Man City, and Arsenal had a turnaround at Luton. I thought Villa played exactly as I expected them to, holding that high line and do it brilliantly well. Two centre halves, I thought Torres and certainly Carlos as well defended really well. Goalkeeper Martinez pulled off a couple of good, decent saves. And Villa are a threat. Their goal was a terrific goal. It was a great move, interchange play. And John McGinn, like we know, using his Kenny Dalglish backside, because that's what Kenny Dalglish did often, that turn and swivel, and was a great finish. And look, it could have got, Arsenal could have got an equaliser. There's lots of incidents in the game. I'm sure Arteta stuck in the stands and furious of the way the game was panning out. Arsenal never quite got going that. They just couldn't quite get going. Two wide boys who are so important to them, Saka and Martinelli. You know, they're so important for them to have a really good go at teams. They did all right, but not to what we know they're capable of. And I thought that ultimately was why Arsenal got beat in the end.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to hear from Mikel Arteta in just a moment. But just to go back onto his point, Unai Emery, about come back to me when we've played another 15 or so games. You were, as we talked about yesterday, a month or so ago, probably a bit longer, month and a half ago, you said Aston Villa will finish in the top four. Are they in a title race?
I don't know if they've got enough, but what I do see is a side that are very well set up. They're so drilled and organised. I don't think there's a better organised team in the Premier League than them. Have they got enough quality in every position? I think they're a tad short. And if they go through any injury crisis, I don't see... And they are, there's still... Buendia's, can come back. There's Tyrone Mings that can come back. I wouldn't be surprised if Villa do some business in the January transfer window.
Well, even more so if they're in this position.
Because they need to. Because I said yesterday that, when Leicester won it, they didn't lose Mahrez, they didn't lose Vardy, and they didn't lose Drinkwater, who was brilliant for them at that time. And I don't think Villa can afford that. But what I know is, I said yesterday, they are definitely going to make the top four for me, because they are as good as an organised team. When I saw them at Forest lose 2-0, I thought, is this a one-off game? The way they got beat, and Forest were terrific on the day. So I'll give them a bit of... Sometimes you play teams that are just as superb on that particular day. But I do think there's a side that will go close. You look at the game yesterday in that, there was nothing really to choose between Arsenal and Villa. And it was at Villa Park, but there was nothing to choose from them. And Villa will go away from home and try and win games.
Well, that's their only sort of downfall, isn't it? Perhaps is there a way form, and they've spoken about it not being as emphatic as their home form. I mean, it's obviously ridiculous because they've been brilliant at home and they've won 8 out of 8 so far. Yeah, well, now, if you wanted to take their recent run of victories and the way they've played, you now look at their draw at Bournemouth and think, well, that was a really hell of a draw. If you're now looking at how good Bournemouth have been since then, that now looks like a really decent result. Well, yeah, even John McGinn sort of laughed about, because that was only last weekend. Yeah. And he even joked about, it's been an incredible week, but we're just a bit disappointed we didn't get anything out of that. We didn't win the game.
Bournemouth have had 13 points from last 15 points available.
Absolutely. Bournemouth certainly one of the form teams in the Premier League currently, absolutely. Let's hear, though, from Mikel Arteta, because, and this is a very short snippet, I should point out. They had a last-minute equaliser ruled out for a handball by Kai Havertz. Here's what Arteta had to say on the decision.
Clear and obvious. Very clear and obvious, yeah.
Yes, so he felt as though that was wrongly judged, let's say. He did also have more to say on how he thought his team performed.
Yeah, very disappointed, obviously, with the result, because I think the team deserves much more. I haven't seen my team do what we have to do to Villa since we came back here, but it wasn't enough to win it, because in front of goal we lack the most important thing in football, which is the accuracy to put the ball in the net.
So there were a couple of incidents I think Arteta wasn't happy about. The disallowed goal.
Yeah.
There was a Jesus penalty shout as well. That wasn't given. So he was yet again not happy with the officiating, although didn't go on a rant. I'm not going to say that he said that, but obviously made it clear that he felt there was some clear and obvious things that were perhaps missed. The handball, unlucky, harsh. How do you see that one?
Well, Roy Hodgson talked about this, about interpreting, the way that handball now by referees has been officiated. Could have gone either way, Nat. At the time, I think, Matty Cash, did he handball it? Kai Havertz, it looks like a slight touch. Is it deliberate? I mean, that doesn't seem to matter. If a ball gets deflected and moves onto another part of the body, it's not a clear arm to ball where someone's definitely trying to gain an advantage, but they're not looking for that. So it could have gone either way. I just find it, their interpretation of handball now is just incredible.
Well, the thing with the handball law, especially when you're an attacking team, is
the advantage.
If you score a goal, you're the goal scorer, and you appear or are adjudged to have handled it in that process, it will be ruled out automatically, despite the fact it could be an unlucky deflection, whatever it is, it will be ruled out. So by the letter of the law, it was the right decision. It does seem a little bit, when you look at that moment, it's quite a little bit of a melee, shall we say, between himself and Matty Cash. It's all over the place, bit of pinball. So in that sense, it seems a little bit unfair. But ultimately, by the letter of the law, it's the right decision. And that was the referee, Jared Gillett, who got that completely right. He called that on the pitch, which is quite incredible if he did call it.
An amazing spot. To get it, to see that fine touch. Because it is the finest of. I would go along with Arteta on their finishing. Because Odegaard had a couple of great chances and wasn't clinical, and they haven't looked as clinical in recent weeks. People will look at the Luton game, but I'm talking in games like this. This is pivotal.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. After 16 games, if you compare where Arsenal are now to where they were last season, they had earned 43 points last season. They're at 36 currently. Yeah. So there's obviously been a drop-off. Likewise with goals, 40 goals last season, 33 this season. So there's been a little bit of drop-off.
Okay, so there's a question to you, and I wonder what the listeners think of this question. Is the Premier League up for grabs for a number of clubs? Man City have had a real drop-off in that. You're looking at Arsenal. Is it up for grabs?
I think... What I think is fascinating about this season is that we're seeing results that we're not expecting, more so. And I know you can get that. You can get these incredible shocks. But I think we're just seeing more and more teams that were not... Bournemouth, a case in point. Yeah. Now, Bournemouth, at the start of the season, it was difficult for Antonio Iraola, but my goodness, has he turned things around. And he's now having his side give oppositions a real game and winning games like they did at Manchester United yesterday, not by fluke, but by absolute brilliant, incisive, determined play.
Attacking play as well.
Absolutely. And you're seeing that, we've seen it with Wolves, some of the stuff that they've been doing. I even think you can even look at some of the sides who are in the relegation zone that, yes, they might not have the quality, and that's maybe the big difference, but they've still given teams a game. It's not like they've been complete walkovers. I know there've been some surprise, I say surprise, but hammerings. But still, I think, at times, Burnley have been in games, but they just haven't had that quality to finish it off. Likewise, Sheffield United, we saw that with the Spurs game, and they just lost that late on, didn't they? Luton again in midweek against Arsenal. Teams are, single team, in general, I think, on their day, are giving any side a proper game, which is brilliant.
You could put Wolves in there, which they've shown enough times. And there's a number of them. I talked about this yesterday, didn't we? It's about 10 teams. You could say, do you know what? They're coming after you. They're going to press you and close you. Nottingham Forest do it at home. When they're good Forest, they can. Obviously they lost Awonye, which is a big blow to them the way they play. Yeah. But there are a number of teams that are doing that, playing this attacking football. And
there will still be those hammerings like we saw with Sheffield United this year. We will see it, of course we will. And there is still some disparity between teams, but still on their day, when a team's on it, they will give you a game, and that's what's brilliant about this Premier League. So yes, I think. It's not a two-horse race like it was perhaps
feels
last
like it's
season.
Up for grabs.
It does feel as it's more open. Yeah. And I think Aston Villa, obviously you have to consier Aston Villa in the title race.
I stuck my neck out a while back on Villa. I thought they were a side that looked, like I said, as the more organised or the most organised team I'd seen.
Well, Villa fans, be great to hear from you this morning. Do you feel you're in the title race, or are you playing it down like Unai Emery and maybe saying, like, give us another 15, 16 games? We'll come back to you on that one. 81089 is the text number. You can also give us a call if you so wish. 03717 223344. I'm sure it's dreamland for Aston Villa fans right now. It's been an incredible week after victories over Manchester City and now Arsenal as well.